Welcome back to the Midday Show. My guest today is the National Investigative Correspondent for NBC News, whose Rossen reports can be seen weekday mornings on the Today Show. It's an honor to have him on the show. Please welcome Jeff Rossen.
Hey, Brandon, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is an honor to have you. So I wanted to first start off by asking you, more rather, why broadcasting? What was it about broadcasting that was attractive to you that you wanted to pursue it?
I'll say the best story. The moment you knew I wanted to get into this, I was 12 years old, and I was walking. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and I was walking through the mall with my mother, and the local mall, Smith Haven Mall. And you know how radio stations do the live remotes, the DJ goes out, they broadcast live.
Of course.
Of course. We're walking along, and I didn't know what radio DJs were, 11, 12 years old, and there's this man standing at a British table, rather sitting behind it. He's talking to this microphone, and his voice is coming at us, and everyone's gathered around listening. And I said to my mom, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And at that moment, I was hooked on broadcasting. I did DJing for a little while at a college radio station like you are right now before I was even in college. Turned it into internships. Then I interned at commercial stations, and then I got into news, and the rest, as they say, is history.
And of course that's how you found it, but how did you find it into a place where you could actually make it a career?
So when I was in college, I worked for a college radio station, C89. I went to Syracuse University, and it was there that I discovered my love of news, and I began really pursuing that hard, and then I switched into television. I figured that was the next logical step, for me, at least. And when I started working at the ABC station in Utica, New York, I was editing all my own stuff, shooting all my own stuff, doing weather, doing sports, doing anchoring, doing reporting, doing everything. And it was a great experience. And I just, as you know, Brandon, when you have the bug, you have the bug. And you don't know if you're going to be a success. You're not going to be a success. I just knew I loved the craft and I wanted to do it.
And so I want to move on to Rossen reports. You were employed by NBC in 2012, I believe.
2008, actually.
2008. I'm so sorry. And
Rossen reports began in 2012, but I've been in the NBC since 2008.
One of my favorite Rossen reports that I've seen recently was the safest school in America. I thought that was just a brilliant report.
Thank you.
And I want to use that as an example. Could you give us a timeline of how a Rossen report comes together from the moment the idea comes to you to the moment you do the throwback to Mad in Savannah?
Got it. It's a tough question because they're all so different. That particular story.
Yeah.
I was in South Africa covering Oscar Pistorius a couple weeks before that, and a few weeks before that. And New York, one of our co-executive producers emailed me and said, "Hey, we want to do a back-to-school series, a Rossen Report back-to-school series. Do you and your team have any ideas?" And we always have ideas. And if we don't have ideas, we'll go out and find ideas. So my team, I have one member of my team with me in South Africa. The rest of my team is back in New York. I blasted out an email saying we need ideas for a back-to-school series, so a week after Labor Day when everyone's going back to school. And we started canvassing local news reports from across the country. We looked at local affiliates, local newspapers, anything school-related. We always like to do something that's new and unique and hasn't been done before by our competitors. That's part of what makes Rossen Report so great is how unique it is, and it's exclusive content that no one's really done, and really value add for the audience. And that is one of the stories we came across, that there was this school. And of course, once you see a local news report, that's not enough. Then we reach out to the school, we do our own research, we make all the calls, see what they're actually doing, how it can be visual for us, how we can demonstrate it. We set up a time to shoot, and by the time I got back from South Africa on that airplane, we were shooting just days later. And my team had already set it up. And of course, when you get on the ground there, there's all that. We spent a day shooting on scene, got back to New York, we logged the tape, we wrote, a few days editing, and about a week and a half later, it was on the air.
So in just that week and a half or so, give or take a week or two, you had a full report airing on the Today Show.
Oh yeah, sometimes we do them in one day. Sometimes we do them in 4 weeks. It all depends on what's needed. There are sometimes, another recent Rossen report we did. We were in our. It was when there was really really bad flooding. I believe it was in Oklahoma and Texas. I believe. It wasn't this past flooding situation in Charleston. It was a really really bad storm before that. It was a few months ago, and we were in the Today Show morning meeting. It was around 10:30 in the morning, and our senior vice president of the Today Show said, "You know what?" He said, "What if we did a Rossen report tomorrow morning where you show people how to survive if they're caught up in a dangerous flood situation?" I said, "Well, if it's tall order, I don't know." So immediately my team, and I do have the best team in television, I will say that, make me look better than I am every single day. They got to calling all these different agencies and rescue operations, and before we knew it, we were on an airplane, and by the next morning, I was live for 5 straight minutes in a raging river, teaching people how to survive a flood. So we turned that around in around 20 hours.
That is just amazing, and I can only assume that not only do the viewers learn so much from what you're reporting on, but you must have this wealth of knowledge from all these reports you've done that probably helps you in your own life.
I do, and I have 3 kids, and I have a wife, and I'm always saying, "Trust me, don't do that." And my wife will call me, "Hey, I saw this thing on Facebook. I'm going to sign up for it." I go, "Please don't. It's a scam. I've done it." And so, yes, sometimes I'm a little annoying at home. But yeah, I do have a lot of knowledge about this kind of stuff, and I'm always learning, which is the great part. And, whenever you see a story that we're doing on the air, I'm working on 7 more, at the same time. So we have another great piece on tomorrow morning, and then I'll be shooting yet another piece right after that. So it's always a machine that's constantly moving.
Definitely. And who has been some of your journalistic inspirations for when you're doing your reports, Rossen reports, or just even regular reports?
Well, Peter Jennings growing up was always my hero. I watched him every single night. In later years, Tom Brokaw became an inspiration for me. I interned for him at Nightly News back in the mid-'90s, and it is an honor to work alongside him today. And he has complimented pieces of mine from time to time when I see him in the elevator, and it always means the world to me. He's a legend. And we can all learn so much from him. You know what? I will say that I take a little something away from everybody I watch, from young reporters to the oldest veteran reporters and everyone in between. I continue to learn how to master the craft, and I continue to pick little things up from different people. I'll be watching local news, for example, and I'll see a local news reporter, and I'll say, "Yeah, I really like that. That's pretty good." And I'll pick that up. And so, I think the key to success in this business is never thinking you know everything. And we all have things to learn, and we can all learn every single day from each other.
Definitely. And on the other side of the coin, how has your past previous jobs influenced what you're doing right now?
I never did investigations until I got to NBC. I was always a general assignment reporter. I did radio, like I said. I did local television news. I was the guy on the scene with the fire or the shooting. Did that for a lot of years in many different places: Utica, New York; Syracuse, New York; Detroit, Michigan; and New York City before going to the network. And I really became a lover of investigative journalism when I was at NBC. The resources we have at NBC News are vast. They are global. And over the years, I've been able to assemble a team of people who I trust with my life, literally, who are some of the best journalists in the country. And I would hold our investigative unit up to anybody in the world.
Definitely. And one of the things I like to ask people who are definitely in the really national media is what advice can you give to young reporters like myself or young journalists, young broadcasters to making a long-lasting, I guess, longevity in the business?
I was told for a million years, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. When I wanted to intern and I was 13 years old, every radio station I called said, no, insurance won't let us. There are always no's. There are always no's. There's always a way to find a yes. And that is the key. You may not get rich from this business. Maybe you will. It's hard to know. But never, ever give up. I will tell you that there's not a single other thing that I could do with my life, whether I made $1 million or $10, because it's what I love to do. And if you love to do it, then you need to follow that. And I always have said that I may not be the smartest guy in the room, but when the smartest guy goes to sleep, I'll still be awake working. It's all about work ethic and passion. If you have those two things, you will become amazing at anything you do, and nothing can stop you.
More Jeff Rossen after this. Welcome back to the Midday Show. My guest is the lovely Jeff Rossen from NBC News. You can catch him on the Today Show weekday mornings. Check your local listings, of course. And I wanted to know, what is that feeling like, either when you're out shooting, when you're in the studio, when you're doing a live remote? What is that feeling like right before you go on the air?
I still get chills from it. I still get nervous. It never quite fully goes away. And, my producer, Josh Davis, and we had a huge live remote last week. We did a big bike giveaway. It was called Rossen to the Rescue, and we gave away bikes to these needy children, and the person who built them bikes kept getting robbed. So we took the franchise that we often, the Rossen Reports franchise, where we often profile victims, and this time went the extra mile and helped and fixed it. And it was a multi-camera live remote. The big NBC News satellite truck was outside. It was in Columbus, Georgia. And we had 4 live cameras inside this gymnasium. And I looked at my producer, Josh, and I said, God, this never gets old, does it? About 30 seconds to air. He said, never gets old. This is amazing. And that's the key. I never have lost my love of television and the media. And I'm always in awe of it. And I think that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow, is always be in awe of the media. Never think you're bigger than it. But I still get excited by it.
And we do have to let you go. And I want to say thank you again for being here. Before we let you go, I want to ask 2 questions. First, plugs. Where can people find you on the tweets, the Facebooks, the wherever's, and where can people see the Rossen Reports if they miss it on the Today Show?
Got it. All right, a few things. So if you missed any of the reports, I have them all on my website. It's RossenReports.com. That's ROSSEN Reports.com. On Facebook, we're at Facebook.com/Rossen Reports. On Twitter, I'm at Jeff Rossen. And that is where you can find me. And I'm also on Instagram as well as Jeff Rossen. So you can find me anywhere. I love story ideas. I will tell you, I personally and my team read through every single one. And you never know. If you have a story for us, we may come a call and come out with the cameras. that
is amazing. And when we do have to cut interviews short like this, because of course you have to go, you're a busy, busy man, would you like to request a song that we can play out of the interview?
Let me try to think. What kind of song should I request? What's the favorite kind?
We usually do more pop, rock, that type of mainstream area.
Yeah, let's do. Just because I did a story last week where we helped a couple of girls who were scammed by Taylor Swift tickets from a bad vendor, and we surprised them and we got them into a Taylor Swift concert. Let's do Taylor Swift, Bad Blood.
And that's coming up for you right now. Jeff Rossen, everybody.